on.
I'm Jane.
And I'm Amanda.
Welcome to Come Dowse
With Me.
That's a delay.
We'll get there. Oh, welcome to Come Dowse With Me. And we're going to talk about this week a question that I get asked a lot, and I suppose you do as well, Joan. Who's Joan? Is what is dowsing? So I know when people say to me, well, what do you do? And I say I'm a professional dowser. They go, what's that? And it's very hard sometimes to explain what dowsing is. So to start us off, I've got the dictionary definition of dowsing, which I'm going to read out, and we'll see what that. So it says here, a technique for searching for underground water, minerals, ley lines, or anything invisible by observing the motion of a pointer, traditionally a forked stick, now often paired bent wires, or the changes in direction of a pendulum in response to unseen influences. So that's what the dictionary says it is. I like to start with a dictionary definition. I like to know what the people are saying about it, what the people. But I know when I get asked, I tend to say dowsing is where you use rods or a pendulum to get a yes or no signal in answer to a question. And then that obviously opens up many more questions, because then it's like, well, what questions? Any questions? Well, you can't just ask any. It's like, well, you can ask any, as long as they're worded in the right way. Jenny, you've got a really good definition on your website, haven't you? I like, because again, bringing in like the kinesiology bit, that's what I sometimes use as well. But yeah, go for your definition, what you've got.
Oh yeah, I just try to explain, because it's really hard to explain something that you kind of do because it's an ancient skill. So I've got it as the ancient skill of dowsing with a pendulum or rods to obtain a response has been used for centuries to locate water, minerals, lost objects, earth energy lines, health and well-being. So it's a way of connecting to our own intuition, and the rod and pendulum being the tool showing what is being sensed. So I use dowsing much like a kinesiologist uses muscle testing to get a yes or no signal from your system, alongside some energy healing work to bring about a sense of well-being for your mind, body, soul and spirit. So it's so that's my definition of dowsing. But what I think it is it's not kind of woo-woo. It's not some strange force that's getting the pendulum or the rod to move. It really is. It's kind of like intuitively small muscle movements coming from your subconscious, going down through your body, and the rod or the pendulum is showing what's being sensed. And I think it's that it's trying to take away that myth that, you know, years ago it was considered kind of like water witching as another name for dowsing, and you know, dowsers were persecuted for that. So the use of the hazel stick was purely because then if you're walking along and you're doing some dowsing in your field looking for the best place to do some put a well or something in, and someone comes along, and so you don't get arrested and then dunked and whatever they used to do in those hideous times when that you were tried for witchcraft, whether or not you'd done anything. So they could chuck the hazel stick into the hedge and just be wandering along like I'm having a walk.
You see, I did wonder why they did it out of hazel. That makes perfect sense then, doesn't it? That you'd use hazel rods. And luckily we're in 2023 and we're not going to get caught any time for being a witch and dunked in a thing. But I mean, there's lots of companies that use it, oil companies, water companies, like your local water company when you have leaks on the roads and they've got those X's sprayed where they're going to bring up the leaks. Probably a lot of the time they've been found by a dowser, somebody with dowsing rods, to find where the leak is. So dowsing is used, I mean, it used to be used in the 70s as well for by the police force on crime scenes and things. So that'd be an interesting one. I wouldn't mind doing that. Getting involved in that would be really interesting, wouldn't it? Having a dowse around a crime scene. But again, it's using like what is dowsing? Dowsing is a definition of getting a yes or no signal, but then it's a much bigger question than that, isn't it? Because dowsing, you start to talk about then how we're all connected and we've got this universal information that we can all access, and it's a way to access that for whatever. When you're out and you ask about history questions, there's no way I would have that information in my brain, but we're getting that information from somewhere. So it's
I think it's that
much bigger question, isn't it?
It is. It's so huge, but I think what it is dispelling the myths that are around dowsing and about how dowsing works, because I think there's a lot of fear maybe that comes into,
but that's too weird. It's like you're talking to dead people. It's like, no, we're not.
No, and I think that's the thing. It's actually, dowsing has a place. Dowsing does have a place, and it can be really beneficial if used in the appropriate way, asking the appropriate questions. I mean, if you think about it, it wasn't that long ago, was it, that when someone was expecting a baby, they'd get a wedding ring and a piece of string and douse the sex of the baby.
Yeah.
I mean,
mine and Nana used to do that. It was yeah. Oh, let's see if it's going to be a boy or a girl. I've never done that though. I've never done it for anybody, because for me it's like it's a future thing, and I don't like asking questions about the future. I like asking about the here and now, what's going on in my system right here, right now, right here, right. I don't always like to ask two things, because when you're asking about the questions in the future, what I ask, should I do this tomorrow? By the time tomorrow comes, you could ask the same question and get a different answer. So the future can change, but the past is done. Whereas when you're dowsing into the past, you've got set questions. And for the here and now, it's like getting a question for the here and now.
And also, I think the whole thing about dowsing for the future, can I dowse for the horse that's going to win the Grand National? And, is it for your highest good to have that information? And I always say, don't try dowsing the lottery numbers. You'll get a load of numbers, but that doesn't mean to say that you're going to win the lottery, because actually, is that appropriate? I mean, there's a whole thing, then it comes into kind of ethics, doesn't it?
The ethical side of it, yeah.
The ethical side of it, is that ethical to go around dowsing and also dowsing without people's permission? I don't know how you feel about it, but I certainly wouldn't want to dowse, as some people, they say, oh, I'm connecting with some person that's died. I'm connecting with them. Well, for me, I don't know if that would be appropriate. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I mean, I've had things when I've been doing things on past lives or down what they're called, ancestral things. I've had things where, because if I know that there is a spirit around, my pendulum tends to jump up like that, and it jumps up. And that's another thing. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to believe in anything to do dowsing. It just so happens that when I'm doing my past life and ancestral stuff, it sort of comes into it, because I'm sort of finding out from family lines where certain core beliefs or emotions have got stuck within there, and clearing it around with permission from the family member who is still here. So and again, it's that ethical side, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't go out of my way to have a conversation and just go, is anybody dead around I can have a chat with? It doesn't seem appropriate or right. But I think that ethically as well, I sort of follow my own code of conduct, and I think you've got to have a lot of common sense within that. You can't just go off on and ask anything for any. It's about asking the permissions. It's about doing the dowsing in an ethical way. And again, the questions, and a lot of dowsing comes down to the questions, the quality of the questions that you're asking, if they're the right questions. And we'll probably talk about questions in every episode, because they are really important. How you structure questions.
It's about appropriateness, isn't it, as well? Appropriateness of question, appropriate of the situation, and actually, you know, when you go dowsing, because there are, you know, some churches, if you've sought permission beforehand from whoever's in charge of the church, some are more than happy for you to, others prefer you not to dowse. And again, it's about respecting other people's beliefs as well. So yeah, but it's kind of like the whole dowsing thing is, you know, if you want to dowse in a public place, you can do that by deviceless dowsing. So no one's actually seeing you suddenly pick up a rod and kind of like, you know, walking around with a rod sort of like this size. Yeah, it's quite noticeable. But you know, when you've got a pendulum, like I know both of us wear pendulums around your neck, people just think you're kind of like playing with your end of your necklace kind of thing. So, but there are people that do deviceless dowsing. So
I can't do that. I've tried with the blinking one, and I can't do the blinky one. I've had a go at that. I can't do it. Probably I can't do it, but I don't trust that one. Sway test, yeah, I do the sway test. Yeah, and people will do the sway test and not realize that is a form of being a human pendulum. So they'll go, oh no, I don't dowse, but I do the sway test. They say, well, you're getting a yes or no signal. It's still getting like the kinesiology, you're still getting a yes or no signal. We'd be very interested for anybody watching that, how you explain what dowsing is when somebody asks you, and do you say something different to different people, where, as you know, some of your friends or family might be spiritual and understand what you're into, or know that you're not spiritual, and how you explaining it to different people. Really, it's our beliefs, isn't it? But yeah, if you want to put something in the comments about how you explain what dowsing is, because it's a question that, I mean, mine changes all the time. I don't think I have a set answer just yet. And I've been dowsing for like for a long time, since I was about 14, but professionally for the last 13-14 years. So, and I still don't have a set answer, really. Depends on who I'm speaking to and what I think their level of understanding is of different things, because you could go really down a rabbit hole on different subjects with it.
Yeah, because you can it can be almost explained scientifically, you know, with quantum physics, and you go into that realms, and that just opens up a complete other doorway, you know, dowsing, you know, scientifically. But if you think about it, you know, even like Einstein, you know, everything is energy. So, you know, even though we can't see it, we still know it exists. And so dowsing is the same thing. Just because we can't see it doesn't mean to say we don't need to understand about it. And so we can ask these questions. And, you know, I just think dowsing's just so amazing. It just opens up the whole wide world into this massive reality.
And I like using it as a confirmation tool as well. I think when we talked about earlier about the intuition, that you use your intuition a lot. And I think I use my intuition a lot, and then that will provoke me that will then lead on for me to ask a question that I'll dowse the answer to. And it's about not being attached to the answer of that question. So dowsers, you can't be attached to the outcome. You might have an idea and think, oh, this is going to be a yes. But then if it's a no, you don't want to be like, it's so unfair, that was a no and I wanted it to be a yes. So you can't do that. You just have to go, okay, I accept my grown-up. I accept that is a yes, or I accept that as a no, but it's being unattached from the outcome, isn't it?
I think that the great thing for me is I trust my intuition, and I kind of go with it, and then I just double check.
Yeah, it's a confirmation tool, isn't it?
I want the confirmation of like, oh no, that was right, and well, I thought that anyway, and I'm thinking, well, why are you even going there? But it's just like, no, I've just double checked by dowsing, and it kind of, yeah, I just want to check all the time. But actually, once you start working in that way, the intuition becomes part of it, so the dowsing becomes like intrinsically part of everything that you do. So yeah, I don't even think about it now.
And your intuition gets stronger, doesn't it? You get more clarity of mind the more you can sort of, I mean, before I was dowsing like so much, probably 25 years ago, so I've got an annoying fly that keeps bombing me. About 20, even probably 30 years ago, I would have a thought and then I would go, oh, right, okay, I'm going to action this thought. And then I think, oh, that's a really good idea. And then I'd go down and it might take me 3 or 4 weeks to realize, well, that wasn't a very good idea in the end after all. Whereas now I'll go, oh, that's a good idea. I'll dowse it. Shall I follow this thought? Get a no and go, right, okay, I won't. So it saves you so much time. It's such a time saver. I've not gone off on a wild goose chase because I thought I've had a good idea and actually it's not. And I'm not offended that it wasn't a good idea. I haven't offended myself by going, oh, I'll dowse it. No, it's not a good idea. Oh, that's all right then. I'm not offended by that. But if you are offended by the outcomes, then there's obviously some clearing in terms of core beliefs or emotions that you need to have a good old clear out of to get that clarity of mind where it doesn't matter what the outcome is. You're not attached to that outcome.
And I like the thing that, well, both of us do, but I've kind of picked it up from you with the post-it notes about things that you need to keep, things that need to go. And sometimes you feel like you've got an attachment to something, but actually when you dowse it, it's on its way out. Literally.
Yeah. Shall I explain what that is? So if you have a lot of, I mean, we're both self-employed. So when you have a lot of things going on in your life, sometimes you just need to have a bit of a clear out. So what I tend to do, and I've got it down to like a little list that I just carry on now and I keep adding to the list. But if you do this for the first time, you get a post-it note and you write one thing on each post-it note. So you would write things that you're doing. So for me, it was things like writing a book, one-to-one sessions, doing my dowsing, working with this set of group of people. So you write down one thing on each post-it note and you put them all out. And then you have some headings on a piece of A4, put it into quarters, and you have to keep, to allow, to create, and to release. So those 4 headings. And then each one you would dowse your post-it note and pick it up and go, okay, are you to keep, to release, to create, or to allow? And then you put it in. And what you'll find is you'll find that you straight away you'll get a very much clearer view of where you want to do to what you want to do to move forwards. And also you've then got that short list each month there. And I do it every month now. I've been to do it every month for a good couple of years now. And it's really good to sort of just have a check-in and go, okay, is that still in the right place or does it move around? And a lot of the things that I've found that move on to my to allow or my sort of to allow place, they go up to release. Either something will happen with them and it'll build momentum, or it just moves up to release and then it's just moving on its way out. But it's a really good way of having a declutter of what's taking up your time, of what you're using your time for, so that you can just focus your energies.
It's great. I love it because I think it just gives you some clarity. But again, it's going back to you cannot be attached to the outcome, because there might be some stuff that you want to hold on to in your life, but actually it's non-beneficial and it needs to go. And dowsing is a great way of allowing yourself to let that go if that's what you want to do. So yeah,
it's your second opinion to go, yeah, that's right, you can release that. And even the things, so once you've done that, even the things that are in the to keep, doesn't mean it's to keep forever. It just means at that moment in time. So when you check it again the following month, you go to your to keep list and go, is that to keep? And if you get a no, then you go around and see where it's which corner it needs to go in. And if it's release, you send it off. Release, be free. And it just gives you more headspace, more clarity of mind. But yeah, I think dowsing does that anyway, because it saves you so much time, doesn't it?
Oh, this has been a really great chat with you today. And yeah, I think we've hopefully dispelled a few myths about dowsing, but we may have made it more than whatever it is. Who knows? We may have just come up with a new definition of dowsing. So whatever your thought is, and I think however you dowse and whatever your belief is, do what's right for you, do what makes you happy, and keep dowsing.
Happy dowsing. See you next time.
Bye.